In an ancient kingdom of Akara lay nestled between towering hills, cradled by fertile lands and a river that had sustained its people for generations. The river, known as the Akara, was more than just a source of water, it was life itself. For centuries, the villagers believed that the Akara River was protected by a powerful deity, the river god Onyemora. In the old days, every year, the villagers would hold a grand festival in his honor, offering sacrifices and prayers to ensure bountiful harvests and calm waters. But times had changed. As the years passed, the village grew prosperous, and the people became less and less concerned with the old ways. They began to view the river god as a relic of a bygone era, an outdated superstition that no longer had a place in their modern world. The festival was eventually forgotten, and the shrine to Onyemora, once adorned with offerings of food, drink, and gifts, fell into ruin. The elders warned the younger generation to remember their roots, to honor the spirit of the river. But the villagers, especially the ambitious new chief, Okachukwu, dismissed the old customs as irrelevant. Okachukwu was determined to lead Akara into a new age of progress, and honoring an ancient god didn't fit into his vision. He built a dam across the river to control its flow and generate power, ignoring the warnings that the river spirit would not be pleased. And so, for the first time in centuries, Akara, the river god, was forgotten. But Onyemora did not forget. It began slowly, so subtly that the villagers didn't notice at first. The river's fish, once abundant, grew scarce. The river, once crystal clear, began to grow murky, with a strange foulness rising from its depths. Crops that once thrived in the fertile soil along the riverbank began to wither. And then came the floods, great torrents of water that swept through the village without warning, drowning fields, homes, and livestock. At first, the villagers blamed the unpredictable weather, but as the floods grew more frequent and more destructive, they started to whisper of the old stories, the stories of the angry river god who would take revenge if ever he was dishonored. Okachukwu, however, refused to believe in such superstitions. He ordered his people to strengthen the dam, believing that controlling the river with force would solve the problem. But as the dam grew higher, the river's rage only intensified. Soon, the river's waters became a monstrous force, sweeping away anything in its path. Then came the night that changed everything. It was the night of the largest flood Akara had ever seen. The river overflowed its banks, crashing into the village with the ferocity of a wild beast. The villagers fled their homes, climbing to higher ground as they watched their once prosperous land drown beneath the churning waters. The sky thundered, and lightning lit up the swollen river, casting eerie reflections of something moving in the water, something ancient and terrible. In the midst of the chaos, a figure appeared near the riverbank. She was young, no older than 18, with long braids and skin the color of rich earth. Her name was Ifinanya. She had always been different from the others. Unlike most, she had always felt a connection to the river, as though its currents whispered to her, calling her name. Her grandmother had often told her stories of Onyemara, the river god, and how he had once protected their people. Ifinanya had always felt a deep respect for those stories, even when others laughed at them. She was the only one who still visited the old shrine by the river, the only one who left small offerings of fruit or flowers, believing it might still matter. As she stood before the raging river, watching the water claim her village, something stirred within her. She felt the pull of the river, a voice, many voices, rising from the depths. Ifinanya. The voice of the river whispered, "Come to me." Without hesitation, she stepped forward, the water lapping at her feet. She felt the ancient power within the river calling to her, guiding her deeper. The villagers, huddled on the hillside, saw her enter the water, but none dared follow. They believed she had lost her mind, that she would be swept away like everything else. But Ifinanya felt no fear. As she waded deeper into the river, the current swirled around her, pulling her closer to the center. The sky cracked with lightning, and the wind howled through the trees, but Ifinanya pressed on until she stood waist deep in the river's heart. The water swirled, forming a whirlpool around her, and from the depths rose a figure, a towering, serpentine form made entirely of water, with eyes glowing like emeralds and a voice as deep as the river itself. It was Onyemara. "Why have you come, a child of Akara?" The river god's voice boomed, his form towering over her. "Your people have forgotten me. They have taken my waters and disrespected the balance. Now I will take from them as they have taken from me." Ifinanya trembled but did not back away. "Mighty Onyemara," she began, her voice steady despite her fear. "The people have strayed, but they are still your people. You once protected us, gave us life through your waters. We have been foolish, but I beg you, spare them. I will do anything you ask. Let me atone for our mistakes." The river god's eyes narrowed. "You offer yourself for their sake, knowing they have abandoned me." His voice was laced with skepticism. "Why should I spare those who have cast me aside for their greed?" Ifinanya took a deep breath. "Because they have forgotten, but I have not. I still honor you. I still remember the old ways. I will give my life to restore the balance, if that is what you demand. But please, let the children and the innocent be spared." For a long moment, Onyemara was silent, the waters churning around him. Finally, he spoke. "I will accept your offering, child. But know this, the balance must be restored, and sacrifice is the only way. You will not die, but you will no longer walk among them. You will serve me, here, in the waters, until they learn to honor me once more." Before Ifinanya could respond, the waters surged around her, and she felt herself being pulled under. The villagers, watching from the shore, gasped as she disappeared beneath the river's surface. But the floods began to recede, and the river, once wild and furious, grew calm. The people of Akara were saved, but Ifinanya was never seen again. In the years that followed, the villagers rebuilt their homes, and they remembered the lesson they had learned. A new shrine was built for Onyemara, and each year, they held a festival to honor the river god, offering sacrifices to ensure his protection. The river flowed peacefully once more, its waters clear and abundant.